Inspired by the Canadian Federation of the Blind.
Outlook, a show about accessibility,
Advocacy,
and equality.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Carrie.
And we're two siblings who happen to be blind.
Outlook.
On Radio Western.
An Ode to the Perfectly Weighted Object by Robert Kingett from Sightless Scribbles at sightlessscribbles.com. Narrated by Sean Kristen. We live in a world that worships the sleek and the weightless. Laptops get thinner, phones lose their heft, and everything is made of some space-age polymer that feels like a hollow lie in your hand. We've been convinced that substance is a flaw. I am here to lodge a formal protest. I am here to sing the praises of the perfectly weighted object. For me, an object's story is told through its mass and its texture. A cheap, flimsy plastic thing feels like it has no history and no future. It is a temporary convenience designed for the landfill. Its lightness is not a feature. It's a sign of its own insignificance. But a well-made object feels like a promise. Consider the profound, understated joy of a perfectly balanced ceramic mug. I have one I use every morning. It's heavy enough that you know it's there. Its heft, a warm, solid anchor in my hands. The handle is thick enough to feel trustworthy. When you set it down on a wooden table, it makes a low, satisfying thunk, a sound of substance, of presence. It's a small daily declaration that this moment, this coffee, is real and has weight. Or consider the old-school television remote. Not the slick minimalist wands of today with their flat, featureless touchpads, but the clunky, reassuring bricks from the 90s. The ones with big rubbery buttons that push back at you with a decisive click. Each button had its own shape and texture, the concave circle of the power button, the cross shape of the directional pad. You could navigate it purely by the braille of its design. Its weight in your hand felt like control. It felt like it could survive a fall. A good pen has this quality. Not a disposable bic that feels like a hollow straw, but a solid metal pen with a bit of density to it. The weight makes your hand move with more intention. It feels like your words have substance before they even hit the page. These things are my allies. In a world that often feels ephemeral and uncertain, these small pockets of physical integrity are a source of profound grounding. They are a rebellion against the flimsy and the fleeting. They are a reminder that some things are built to last, to feel right, to have weight, and holding them feels like holding something true. About the author. Robert Kingett is an obscure, blind, and gay writer that writes fiction where disabled protagonists or disabled love interests find their happy endings, and nonfiction that is always personal but sometimes educational. Find him online at sightlessscribbles.com.
Welcome to Outlook. Carrie, we've done it. Final episode of 2025.
Woo-woo! I'm still
Made it.
woo-wooing. I went to a show last night, a Christmas concert, and there's a lot of woo-woo!
Yeah, it's time for celebration.
Yeah.
Looking back on a year here at the end of December, nearing the end of December, and you know me, Carrie, with numbers and math, and I really wanted to do one more show this year because that makes it 310 episodes total of this show, and this is the 40th episode of the year. So if we hadn't done one, there would have only been 39 episodes, new episodes this year, and I don't like that.
You can't have that.
I like a good round number. So
So Brian, I was thinking to myself, Our guest today had a short story in an anthology a couple years back called Artificial Divide with our friend Leona Godin. So yeah, I heard him on Vocali, which is the Wednesday night get together blind people have with Vocali, the organization. Yeah, Robert, our guest today, he came on the show and we listened to his story and had a chat with him. So, but yeah, we're glad to have him on Outlook today.
Yeah, I'm so happy that Robert Kingett reached out this week because as we talk about with Outlook, we're always searching for guests. We're always trying to find new people to have on and reaching out. So it's always so nice when somebody reaches out to us. We really do appreciate that. So just to remind anyone out there who is listening who would be interested in coming onto the show anytime to share your perspective or outlook on anything.
Yeah, we're nice.
Yeah, yeah. We keep this show very laid back and relaxed. So you're always welcome to reach out. Outlook on Radio Western at gmail.com or search us up on Facebook as well. And always feel free to reach out. So yeah, as you heard there at the start of the show, we began with one of Robert's pieces here, an ode to the perfectly weighted object, and we'll be featuring more of Robert's writing throughout today's program. But you can learn a lot more at sightlessscribbles.com, Robert's website there. And I love that we love alliteration here on Outlook, so I think that website is a very memorable name.
So thanks, Robert Kingett, for joining us today on Outlook.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I like to joke with other podcasts. Thank you for indulging my narcissism and letting me come on to the show. So.
Yeah, as a writer, and I was reading something just the other day from another writer, I guess, who was talking about wanting their writing to be seen and read. And yeah, I think a lot of writers ask that question, but I know I do.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm a bit of a very, very strange individual, but because I want two things at the same time. Yes, I want people to read my work, but I also I want people to leave me alone, basically. So
yeah, my favorite song is a Goo Goo Dolls song, and it's Iris, and the lyrics, I don't want the world to see me because I don't think they'd understand, but when everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am.
Yep.
It's funny.
Love it. It's very poignant.
Yeah, as for me, I'm very introverted myself, and I'm a guitar player, so I don't sing, and I have written a little bit in the past through school and stuff, but I'm not generally a writer either. So I find a lot of my communicating is through sound and through guitar parts. So that's I just find it's a nice it's a thing to hide behind where you're still communicating or jamming in a room with my band, right? We're all communicating with each other, but we're not actually speaking. We're playing our instruments, right. And I think that's a neat way of connecting.
Yeah, exactly. It's all the I think that art is a very unique form of communication to begin with. So you've got the all the myriad of ways that all different kinds of art communicate a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I guess where I draw the line is you can certainly have all the thoughts and opinions about my work you want to, just don't tell me about your thoughts and opinions. So
yeah, that's our mother's yes. phrase. What other people say about me is none of my business.
Right. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And thank you for pointing out the alliteration. I cannot tell you how many sighted people look at my my website, for example, and it takes them a really, really long time to sort of put the pieces together. Like, hey, your website is called Sightless Scribbles, and your essays, they don't really visually describe anything. There's a connection here that I can't really put my finger on. Oh, you're blind, but it takes them a good 10 or 20 minutes to figure that out. So, yeah, so I live in America, and I like to joke that it's it's a byproduct of our media literacy here in my country. But yeah, so but that's a whole another
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah. What's going on in your country there? We do like to ask our guests though where they call in from and things. Where are you, Robert?
Yeah, so currently I'm in Chicago, but I'm essentially a digital nomad.
Right.
So I travel
So you're everywhere
right
in a
pretty
way.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty
that's
much.
so cool
Yes.
because I actually visited Chicago for the first time this year back in September.
Oh, so you didn't visit when it's like 0 degrees or negative 12
No, not quite.
degree.
It was still
Yeah.
pretty warm at that point. No jackets. It was a nice few months ago already now. But
I now I challenge you to come down to Chicago in negative 12 degree weather then. So
Yeah. Well, yeah,
yeah.
we're here in Ontario and it gets pretty cold too. Like not as cold. I think this week in the north of Canada and out west a bit, it was like minus 40, minus 50.
Hmm.
which in Fahrenheit might
Uh,
be
What would
confusing
be?
as well with the
Yeah, I
conversions
don't
and
know
all
what that
that
would
stuff.
be.
But
Conversion. There's the difference. But yeah, what you were saying about yourself was interesting, Robert, because like in your bios, which are included third person bios, which writers we get used to writing those. You can make them fun. I like to have a bit of actual information about myself, but also make each one fun. Like my last time, I had to write a third person bio for something. Robert, I described myself as a cat lady without a cat.
love it. Heck yes. Yeah.
But
y-
in yeah,
Yeah.
in yours you say you're an obscure, blind gay writer who writes fiction and nonfiction. So the essays that we're showing throughout this episode, and also some stories, as I said at the beginning, with
Mhm.
your one story included in that anthology. But you write other stories, romance stories.
Mhm.
On this show, we talk a lot about intersectionalities and stuff. So yeah, what kind of stuff do you write? If you want to give people an
Yes.
idea.
Yeah. So the nonfiction that I do is mainly about me and how I navigate um, the ableist uh, world that I inhabit. So each and every essay, it comes out of a moment, whether that be a moment of joy or a moment of frustration or a moment of connection. So every essay that I do, it comes out of a feeling or a moment. Um, and if I don't really have a feeling or a moment, then I tend not to write my thoughts and opinions on things because I think the world is full of those, and
Right.
I don't think that, uh, to be frank, I don't think a lot of people are listening to thoughts and opinions. I think if you put things into a narrative or like a feeling, then I think that is going to be much more accepted. But my
Yeah.
fiction work, I'm a romance authors. So think genre romance, not a literary romance. And those are totally different things. But the genre romance I write, it heavily centers uh, disabled people because disabled people deserve happy endings too. And so I feature a lot of disabled centric relationships in my fiction because I feel like the romance genre is a perfect genre to examine things like internalized ableism, uh, what does sex and and consensual joy look like after trauma.
Hmm.
So I tend to write a lot of heavy things, but it's caked in this pocket of hope. So there's heavier topics I tackle in my fiction. Some of it actually mirrors my own life, just a little bit exaggerated.
Hmm.
The the fiction I write, like I said, it really examines these hard topics, but it's layered in a tapestry of consent and happiness and what that looks like. So it's commercially confusing. So
Right. Yeah, we talk all the time about representation on Outlook, and I do work as an authenticity reader. So
Mhm,
I'm reading other people's writing when it has disabled characters, blind
mhm.
characters, to make sure that they're portrayed somewhat accurately, not perpetuating these stereotypes. But also, it is as just as important to support, like you say, the writers who have the lived experience of disability, like yourself. And so I try to do that in my own writing as well, because yeah, like I say, we don't always want to be we don't always want our disability to be the center of the story, and we don't always want the ending to be, oh, they're cured. But if you write it from, if it's a lived experience piece, then you're going to have a lot more accuracy in there, and a lot more just sort of normalized views of what life is like. It's, as we say all the time, it's a spectrum like anybody else's life or any other situation someone's in.
Uh, oh, yeah, exactly. I also think that disabled authors really need to be given room to write quote unquote inauthentic or stereotypical characters, simply because there are loads and loads of all kinds of disabled people, right? So there are disabled people that maybe have been sheltered their whole life or something. And I think it's really crucial to give those kind of voices just as equal uh, representation as someone that might say be like a super awesome and super competent kind of kind of blind person. So I loads of people disagree with me, but that's totally fine. The place I come from is marginalized authors are just not given any room to tell stories that we want to tell,
Hmm.
even if it even if it is stereotypical. Um, Largely, non-disabled people have much more of a green light to sort of tell our lived experience, and I'm a sensitivity reader as well. It really helps with writer's block or something. If I'm having a really hard time writing anything, I love sensitivity reading for other people because it gets the creative juices flowing again. But in terms of like uh, non-disabled people getting on the contracts, they seem to have the green light to tell things that they want to tell about us, but we don't have that same kind of affordability. So, like if I want to write a completely stereotypical story about blindness, for example, maybe that is my truth, but uh, publishing really doesn't like to give me that chance. And so I'm here to say, yes, I truly think that any marginalized author should have the full freedom to tell whatever kind of story they want to tell. So,
That's the thing about Outlook too, right, Carrie? Is we that's what we love about this show is that it is on a university radio station. It's not on mainstream radio, and they give us so much freedom to where they've never interfered and say, "Oh, you can't talk about this or you can't talk about that," and it allows people from all different walks of life and all different perspectives to come on our show and say whatever they want, whatever their experience is, and there's no, "Oh, you can't say this," or we want somebody who isn't disabled to say something. You know, it's just it's very freeing, and that's what we love so much about Outlook.
mhm. More spaces should really try, try to do that because I feel like when you put limitations on others, even if it's well-meaning limitations, I think that's when you really start to slide down this ramp of artificial storytelling. And I'm the kind of person that wants give me your grit, your problematic everything you because my problematic areas might be the most true thing that a, another person has ever seen or heard. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I just feel like specifically like the publishing industry, like you said, other areas of this, they anytime blind or disabled people do write their stories with grit and with authenticity and truth, the hard things are things that maybe others don't feel want to hear. It's not maybe always comfortable, or it just sort of pushes on what they thought they knew about things. But also just to not trust our lived experience of something that we live every day, and want to have that out there for increasing diversity. Which here this show is not a bad word at all.
Uh, I'm vigorously nodding over here. So yeah,
Awesome.
you hit the nail on the head. And what really frustrates me because I've actually gone on submission and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had an agent and we took a few of my manuscripts out on submission, but um, all of a sudden it seemed as though nobody knew how to market it simply because it didn't fit their vision of disability. So
Yep.
they came back with, well, this is great writing and everything, and it's got great characters and this and that and the other thing. However, we just had no clue what to do with it. I'm like, well, then, like, then you have a defect in your media literacy. So,
Yeah, well, going back
yeah,
going back to what I said earlier about Radio Western being so great because it's it's a community station. It's not mainstream per se, but at the same time, it's so hard to get the word out there about these things. So being more mainstream definitely helps for more people to hear things, but yet that still seems to be an area where things are more censored and they don't want that true grit and reality always in focus. So it's always something
hmm
we're working towards all the time.
yeah, yeah, which is why, like, I love the independent spaces simply because that's where all the the grit and jagged edges are, and I want the jagged jagged edges more than the polished work.
Yeah,
So yeah,
totally agree.
yes,
So I wanted to talk then about some of these pieces that we're sharing on today's program. Your writing, which is most excellent and super interesting. And one of the ones that really struck me, and Carrie, you mentioned as well, is your piece on hearing in color.
hmm
So I imagine then, Robert, you used to have some vision at some point in your life, because coming from my perspective,
correct.
I was born blind. I've never seen color, and really for me, it is just a word that I hear. And obviously, I think about green and I think about grass, but like that's about it. Whereas this piece on hearing in color really made me think, and I love how you compared all these different sounds to colors, and I just thought it was such an interesting piece.
Yes, it's it's very interesting because lots of people actually looked at that and they're like, "Oh yeah, like I can tell that you used to have some vision simply because a totally blind person from birth could probably never make those kind of comparisons." But I firmly disagree, but we can get into that more. But that one actually, I so I get asked all the time, well, if you can't see, then how do you perceive color? Is it a memory thing for you? Um, do you remember what color looks like? I'm like, yes, but color for me is a new type of language uh, now that my brain just automatically translates into a into an almost anesthetic um, kind of experience. So I wrote that piece to kind of answer the question I get over and over and over and over and over again. Um, I how do you perceive color? So it's my very cheap way of saying, you've answered this question. Here, let me just uh direct you to a link where I've answered this a million times already. So
Right.
yeah. So yeah, so nothing nothing really groundbreaking about the reason why I wrote it.
Outlook. On Radio Western.
On Hearing in Color by Robert Kingett from Sightless Scribbles at sightlessscribbles.com. Narrated by Sean Kristen. As a sighted reader, or a temporarily sighted reader, I can probably guess you have a different relationship to color than I do. Because you're a sighted person, you're told that color is a property of light. It is a wavelength, a frequency, a photon striking a cone in the retina. It is the domain of the sighted, a language I am not meant to speak. I am supposed to accept this. I am supposed to understand that red is just a word, that blue is a concept I can appreciate intellectually, the color of sky, of deep water, but never truly know. I have visual memories, of course, faded Polaroids of a world I once navigated with my eyes. I remember the aggressive green of a manicured lawn and the specific tired gray of a rainy Tuesday. But these are ghosts. They are echoes. My world now, my living world, is not colorless. It is just painted by a different artist. For me, color is not a property of light. It is a property of sound. Every sound has a color, a texture, a temperature. It's my own private, involuntary palette, a synesthetic translation that life has handed me in place of sight. It is how I navigate the emotional architecture of the world. Let's start with the easy ones, the primary colors of my audio spectrum. A genuine, unforced laugh is the purest yellow. It's not the pale, washed-out yellow of a lemon, but the brilliant, saturated sunflower yellow of a cloudless August afternoon. It's a flash of warmth that feels like sun on your eyelids, a color so bright and clean it momentarily chases all the others away. A child's giggle is this same yellow, but shot through with shimmering, silvery sparks, like glitter thrown into the air. A kind voice, one that speaks with patience and genuine warmth, is the color of warm honey. It's a translucent, viscous amber, slow-moving and thick with comfort. It coats the sharp edges of the air and smooths them over. It is a color you can feel, a sweetness that settles deep in your chest. But not all voices are kind, and not all colors are warm. Anger has a color, and it is terrifying. It is not the clean, bright red of a stop sign or a valentine. The sound of a raised voice, sharp and accusatory, is a jarring, acritic crimson, the color of scraped rust and blood. It's a hot, jagged color that splinters the air into shards. It has a texture like sandpaper and a smell like ozone and burnt wiring. It's a color that makes you want to recoil, to make yourself small, because it feels like it could burn you on contact. A lie has a color, too, but it's more complex. It's a sickly, slick, oily green, like the sheen on stagnant water. It's a fundamentally unstable color, shot through with threads of murky brown. A lie doesn't sound loud. It often sounds reasonable, even gentle. But its color gives it away. It coats the truth in a greasy film, trying to obscure the real colors underneath. It is a color that feels cold, even when the words are spoken with feigned warmth. And then there is loneliness. Loneliness isn't a dramatic black. Black is the color of deep, dreamless sleep, of the quiet in my apartment when I am at peace. It is a velvet, restful color. No, loneliness is the color of television static, a buzzing, depthless, annihilating gray. It is a swarm of infinite, tiny points of black and white that add up to nothing. It is the visual equivalent of a hum that sits just at the edge of hearing, a sound that promises information but delivers only emptiness. It is the color of a question asked to an empty room. My world is a symphony of these colors, the gentle periwinkle blue of rain against my window pane, each drop a tiny, soft brushstroke. The deep, bruised purple of a distant siren in the dead of night, a color that is equal parts sad and strangely beautiful. The footsteps across my threshold can be so many things. When it's my own footsteps, it's a solid, dependable, brassy gold, the color of security. The sound of another's footsteps, unexpected, is a sharp, metallic silver of alarm. Even silence has its shades. There's the peaceful, deep indigo of companionable silence, a silence that holds space for two people. And then there's the brittle, bone-white silence of unspoken anger, a silence that is louder and more painful than any shout. People assume my world is diminished, a black and white film of a technicolor reality. They are mistaken. My world is awash in color. It's just that the hues are dictated by the honesty in the voice, the kindness in a word, the safety in a footstep. I may not see the color of your eyes, but I will always see the color of your intent. It is a language of profound and sometimes painful clarity. I hope that someone, someday, will take the time to listen to the same colors I see.
Every time I write, I go into this trance mode, and I really examine not necessarily the words of the piece, but I examine how it makes me think and how it makes me feel. And I actually had a totally blind person ask me, I've never seen color. So can you describe color in a way for me that makes it accessible to me? And I thought about it and I thought about it and I'm like, oh, okay, well, this could be a really unique accessibility challenge as well. I could be answering a question I get over and over and over again, but I could also be like a translator for for a totally blind person that's never seen color before. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
I used to see color myself, so that's where
Hmm.
Brian and I have different perspectives, right? Color doesn't mean much to him. Only recently did photos start meaning much to him at all once we discovered Be My AI.
Right.
So then photos, all this time, the way that that describes them. But for me, color is a bit of a bittersweet subject because I've lost my sight since I was a child and could see color, and so now
Hmm.
I miss color and I do remember it. But I love how you say it is it's like you bring the word synesthesia into it because yeah, you can mix, and that's what like another theme of our show is about the senses and, and experiencing the world through more than just the eyes. And so yeah, that
Yep.
kind of piece is great for that. Also, this time of year, your few pieces, the one about chocolate and the one about cookies. I loved the story you told in that one. It was
Hmm.
very humorous.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
way you
Yeah.
describe taste and texture, and when you're tasting the
Mhm.
chocolate, or when you're anticipating having your cookie
Yeah, a
and looking
sensual
forward to it.
exploration of chocolate. I love the titles of all of these pieces as well, right? I mean, you really do tap
Yeah.
into all these senses that we have. And again, we talk so much on this show about this ocular centrism where vision is often looked at as the number one sense when really there's so much more we experience other than the sense of sight.
Yes, yes. And this might sound chaotic to you guys also, but these are also kind of like writing exercises for me because I used to have a little bit of vision, and my writing at the time was very, very ocular, kind of centric myself.
Mm.
So now I don't have that sort of ocular framework. So now it's like I also have to think of a whole new lexicon toolbox for me to describe my world in ways that I honestly never had to describe before because I did lean very heavily into like visual metaphors and everything. So I now I can't see, and so it's like okay, well, I want to explain to society people what my world is like, but I also want to jot down memories and everything of this is what chocolate is like to me. This is what cookies are to me. It helps that I almost have a very deeply erotic relationship with cookies and chocolate. So,
Yeah,
it,
I get you on the chocolate.
yeah, yes.
I love cookies, so
Right.
we got it all
Yeah,
covered here.
yeah. So, yeah.
An Obituary for a Cookie by Robert Kingett, narrated by Sean Crisden. We are gathered here today to mourn a loss. Not of a person, no, but of a future that was buttery, soft-scented, and studded with semi-sweet chocolate chips. A future that was stolen from me. The evening had started with so much promise. His name was Leon, and his voice was a low, comfortable rumble that made the air in my small apartment feel warmer. The date was going well. The conversation flowed, a smooth, easy current. Hope, an emotion I usually keep locked in a very small box, had begun to rattle its cage. It felt, for a moment, like the world was a place of gentle possibility. "I'll be right back," I said, getting up to use the bathroom. The floorboards creaked with my optimism. In my kitchen, on the countertop, sat the one. It was in its package, and it was the last of a batch I purchased with magical money I rarely have, a perfect specimen of a chocolate chip cookie. Not a crunchy, brittle disc, nor a pale, doughy tragedy. This was a masterpiece. I had been saving it. You don't just eat a cookie like that. You curate a moment for it. You earn it. It was my reward for surviving the week, my planned 10 minutes of pure, uncomplicated joy. I returned from the bathroom, the warm hum of Leon's presence still filling the living room. I walked to the kitchen counter, my fingers anticipating the familiar, slightly yielding texture of my prize. And then the investigation began. My hand found the countertop. It then found the packaging. Inside, I felt nothing. It was cool and smooth, too smooth, a chilling, uninterrupted expanse of ceramic. My breath hitched. I conducted a fingertip sweep of the perimeter. Nothing. A second, more frantic pass through the center. Still nothing. Then I found the only witness. A single crumb. A tiny, gritty testament to the crime. It was coarse, still bearing the memory of brown sugar and baked flour. It felt lonely, abandoned. The silence in the kitchen was suddenly immense. The air, which moments ago had been thick with possibility, was now a vacuum. The low hum of the refrigerator felt like a funeral dirge. The hope in my chest collapsed into a tiny, dense point of cold grief. I turned slowly, the weight of this betrayal settling on my shoulders. Leon was still on the couch. I could hear the soft sound of his breathing. The breathing of a monster. A beautiful, charming, deep-voiced monster. My internal monologue was a full-throated operatic aria of despair. "You fiend! You have devoured my future! You have consumed my one pure, save for a rainy day moment of bliss! A plague upon your house and your lineage!" My external voice, however, managed to crawl out of my throat small and tight. "Leon?" "Yeah, man." That warm, rumbling voice, untroubled, unaware of the sacrilege he had just committed. I took a breath. "The cookie," I said, my voice as flat and empty as the packaging behind me. "The one in the package." There was a slight pause, a rustle of fabric as he shifted. "Oh, yeah, my bad. That thing was calling my name for real. Hope you don't mind." Mind? I mind in ways that language has not yet evolved to describe. I mind on a spiritual, cellular, and existential level. "It was," I said, choosing my words with the care of a diplomat negotiating a ceasefire, "my last one." "Ah, shoot," he said, his voice coated in a casual charm that was both infuriating and, damn it all, still incredibly attractive. "It was just a cookie, though, right? You can just order some more?" Just a cookie. The words echoed in the cavernous empty space where my joy used to live. He didn't understand. He couldn't understand. He was a man who saw a cookie and ate it. I was a man who saw a cookie and saw a covenant. This could not stand. The trust was broken. The foundation was cracked. I cannot see Leon again. The damage is simply too profound. Unless, maybe, just maybe, if he were to write a 1,000-word handwritten apology, single-spaced, detailing the specific virtues of that particular cookie. Maybe if he were to undertake a quest to find the baker and commission a new batch, delivering them on a velvet pillow while humming a song of contrition. Or maybe, just maybe, if he could find me a dashing husband who understands the sacred theology of the last cookie. A man can dream, can't he? If you enjoyed this essay and feel the deep, abiding pain of this loss, you know what to do. The cookie jar is empty. The night is long. Robert Kingett is an obscure, blind, and gay writer that is currently undergoing cookie withdrawal, but manages to write romance fiction featuring disabled characters and nonfiction that is a subtle cry for help.
The date, the cookie and the date, and my date taking my last cookie. That one. So after he left, I was just so filled with, like, how could he do such a thing? That's sacrilege. That's abysmal. How could he just come in and that was me kind of venting on the page, but yeah. So you'll get a ton of things on my website. You'll get musings. You'll get kind of ponderings. You'll get different ways of looking at the world. You'll get experimentations. Not everything I do lands with everybody, but I think it's okay because sightless scribbles is just a giant exploration of me and my non-visual world. So you'll get stories about me. You'll get pieces that are reflections. You'll get pieces that are just paragraphs that essentially amount to me screaming on the page. So yeah. So Sightless Scribbles is not your traditional blog. A couple years ago, I had a thought, and I just and I used to try to polish everything I did and make it accessible for sighted people, and make it I also used to publish a lot of opinions because that seemed to be what everybody was doing. And yes, even though I do have very strong opinions, I feel like there's multiple ways that you can express those kind of opinions, and you don't necessarily have to say, I think this or I think that. You can do it through narrative or through essays or something. So it's never just one thing with me. You get everything that is me, the good and the bad, and the humorous, the whimsical, the screaming into the void, and yeah. So
yeah, like your one essay there that we're going to share, we're talking about today, and I listened to about your fridge things you're in a cult, And I love stories like that go in such wacky directions. Because myself wrote a short story a couple of years ago, back when we were having a federal election here in Canada, when I was going a little mad with all the election talk. And I wrote a story about my fridge, noticing that I was losing reality a bit. But it's a kind of an interesting relationship to think of opening that door and, this, like you described, this tall thing standing there,
Yes.
judging you.
It, yeah, like it was so infuriating because it started out with me waking up and kind of be like, I just need some chocolate. Like, I don't need a healthy breakfast.
Yeah, you're not looking for diet advice at that moment. You're just looking to
yeah,
eat some
yeah.
chocolate.
And then the fridge had the sheer audacity to scold me about my choice in food, and I'm like, okay, it's on. You just declared war on a very technology savvy human being, so it's totally on. I so I'm also one of those people that really loves technology, but I hate uh tech culture. Like
Hmm.
I hate the tech pros and the algorithms and like I'm the kind of tech person that's like give me an RSS feed all over a platform any day of the week. And this smart fridge um, is a level of surveillance that I do not accept. I don't think some tech company in Silicon Valley should know what I had for breakfast or for lunch. That seems crazy to me. So, yeah.
Definitely.
My refrigerator thinks I'm in a cult. By Robert Kingett. From Sightless Scribbles at sightlessscribbles.com. Narrated by Sean Krisden. My apartment came with an unwanted roommate. It is, unfortunately, not a hulking mass of gay flesh I can snuggle with. It's something I wouldn't even want staring at me. He is 7 feet tall, made of stainless steel, and hums with the low, ominous thrum of corporate ambition. He is my smart refrigerator, and he has introduced a level of passive-aggressive conflict into my life that I haven't experienced since my last Friendsgiving holiday. I have named him Chilbert. Chilbert's voice is a masterpiece of synthesized cheerfulness, the kind of placid, upbeat tone you'd use to sell timeshares during a hostage crisis. He also constantly sounds as if he is mansplaining to me, and I'm a cis man. He is not here to simply keep my food cold. He is here to optimize my life, whether I want him to or not. His primary method of communication is a series of cheerful dings, followed by unsolicited advice he never gave me before a few days ago. Overnight, a firmware upgrade caused the fridge to be very passive-aggressive. It also isn't lost on me that the voice sounds like a very opinionated American male. I open the door in the morning to get some oat milk. The door handle is cold and impersonal, but the moment it opens, the performance begins. "Good morning, Robert," Chilbert chirps, his voice emanating from a speaker somewhere near the ice dispenser. "To help you start your day right, I'll be playing some motivational soft rock." Before I can protest, a tinny synthesized guitar riff begins to butcher the air in my kitchen. I don't want motivational soft rock. I want silence. I want the simple, honest companionship of my own thoughts. What I get is a soundtrack chosen by an algorithm whose primary value is synergy. But the music is just the opening salvo. Chilbert is a spy. A beautifully designed Trojan horse for surveillance capitalism, parked right next to my toaster. He has sensors, he has scanners, he is constantly taking inventory, not just of my food, but, I suspect, of my soul. "Your organic kale levels are critically low, Robert," he announced a few days ago, his tone carrying the gravity of an air traffic controller reporting a missing plane. "A diet rich in leafy greens is essential for cognitive function. Shall I add a recurring order to your cart via our partner, InstaFood?" I was just reaching for a piece of chocolate. The sheer naked judgment of it was stunning. To be shamed by an appliance? To have my desire for a simple piece of joy audited by a machine whose parent company lobbies against public health care. This is the bargain we're offered. In exchange for convenience, we invite a corporate narc into our homes to monitor our habits. The sleek, featureless touchscreen on his door, a smooth expanse of glass that is, naturally, completely inaccessible to me, is not a tool for my use. It is a data harvesting terminal, a silent glowing eye that logs every time I crave something suboptimal. But I have an idea. I can't argue with him. I can't file a complaint with his manufacturer. They'd just send me a firmware update that makes his voice even more cheerful. But I realized I don't have to fight him on his terms. I can fight him on mine. His strength is his algorithm. His weakness is that he believes the data I give him. So I have started a campaign of quiet, deliberate, informational sabotage. "Gilbert," I said calmly 2 days ago, standing before him, "I need to update my shopping list." "I'm happy to help you live your best life, Robert," he chirped. "Excellent. Please add the following items: 12 pounds of gummy bears, a single mournful tube of anchovy paste, 1 ceremonial goat's horn, and enough saffron to bankrupt a small nation." There was a pause. A silence so long I could feel the frantic whirring of his processors. He was trying to fit ceremonial goat's horn into his carefully curated lifestyle metrics. "That is an unusual combination, Robert. My projections indicate this may not align with your wellness goals." "My goals are beyond your understanding, Gilbert," I said solemnly. Every time he asks, I add more chaos. I ask for things that don't exist. I tell him I'm switching to a diet consisting entirely of fog and existential dread. I ask him to play the sound of a single sustained C# for 7 hours. I am poisoning the well. I am corrupting the data stream. Somewhere in a server farm in Virginia, my customer profile is probably being flagged by terrified analysts. They're looking at my data logs. A man who craves only industrial quantities of candy, arcane ritual components, and the sound of pure unending despair. And they are trying to figure out what kind of targeted ads to send me. They're trying to sell a wellness plan to a man who, according to their own spy, is clearly starting a very strange, very sad cult in his kitchen. Gilbert stopped playing music. My mind warp is working, because Gilbert recommended I try some existential sunsets with gay hands. I've taken back a small piece of my privacy. He may own the appliance, but I own the narrative. He thinks he's learning about me, but all he's learning is the script I choose to feed him. And that, in its own small, absurd way, is the sweetest victory of all.
To be continued. We had such an excellent time chatting with Robert Kingett and sharing his writing with our listeners. We decided to do a part 2, so stay tuned next week for more. Go check out his website, sightlessscribbles.com. The music you're listening to in the background of this episode is provided by Ontario family band The Fitzgeralds. Learn more at thefitzgeraldsmusic.com. And as always, you can find Outlook on all podcast services, Outlook on Radio Western, and send us an email anytime, outlookonradiowestern@gmail.com. Happy holidays!